All right, we are live. So I would like to take the time to welcome everyone to the 7th edition of Imagine This Women's Film Festival. I'm Patrice, one of the founders of Imagine This, and I would like to welcome the filmmakers, part of the US only short block that is available to watch online through October 2nd. So if you could just kindly all introduce yourselves and your film and let everybody know a little bit about what your project is about. Earl, I'll start with you.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Earl Bolden Jr., producer, director of Nate. And the film is about two estranged women friends who reconnect on the day one of their husbands is murdered. And it's a cat and mouse of whether it was intentional or an accident.
Thank you. Clara?
Hello, I'm Vlada Knowlton. My project that you have is a short film called Well, Actually, and it's a comedy about a woman software engineer who's dealing with microaggressions from her male colleagues in a work meeting. And the film is generally, it's just sort of commentary on what women often have to deal with in tech. I used to work in tech, so I have some experience.
So you have that. Thank you. And last but not least.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lensa. Lensa Judy. I'm a writer-director, and my film Calypso is part of the shorts. Calypso is about a young Haitian American dancer who just recently lost her father and has to overcome a voicemail that she receives from her stepmother. And it just really explores just kind of like within the Haitian community, sometimes the toxicity that comes from the parental unit, just the way that they communicate, especially when they don't really understand, kind of like the more American Western stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. So Earl, I'm curious, how did you get involved with this project? Because you are the director and producer. So yeah, please let us know, like, how did you get involved?
Absolutely. So my wife is the writer.
Nice.
And yes. And so we joke with people, obviously, it's loosely based off of a real life situation, but there is no murder involved, right? Totally fictional. But the general toxicity of the friendship is based off of a real life situation. And she wanted to, she felt compelled to put something on paper from that situation. And she wrote the script a few years back. We were originally supposed to shoot January, February 2020, but of course, like COVID, just like so many other people, we ended up shooting June of 2021. On Juneteenth, actually, we shot that day, so that was incredible for us. And so yeah, that's how this project kind of fell into my lap as producer director. My wife wrote it based off of some real life circumstances, and we brought it to life.
So I'm also curious, like, how was it, like, okay, how did she come up with this concept? Because it's wild. But also, like, how was it working with her, on this project? Is this like your first time working together?
No, this is our third time working in this capacity. She is a writer by trade, and I am a producer director by trade. So we kind of just stay in our own lanes. But yeah, I mean, for her, I would say it was emotional for her at first, but after, I guess, becoming detached from it, from the pause and all the delays, being on set, I guess it was just second nature at that point. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Vlada, like, I believe you are the writer and no, you are the writer, director, and producer. So how did you come up with this concept, and how was it wearing so many hats to get this project developed? And of course, like, would you ever do it again?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, I'd do it again. I've sort of done it for a couple of other projects, a couple of feature documentaries I've made. So I had some practice, some experience, but of course this is a narrative, so it's different from a documentary. It's a completely different animal. But it started as actually from a feature script project. So I and the producer Susan LaSalle and the cinematographer Lulu Gargiulo, we were working on trying to develop the feature project called Well Actually, which was also about a woman software engineer. A slightly different story, but kind of set in the same type of world, in the tech world, and a similar type of company that's in the short. And you know, in our attempt to a feature film takes a lot more time and effort and money to develop. And so in that process, I wrote this short as a sort of a proof of concept. And in a sense, it's a proof of concept in the way that, you know, I wanted to show that this is an interesting and timely and relevant topic, you know, women in tech and the gender gap, and you know, and it's even worse for Black software engineers, and I wanted to showcase that as well. So this short kind of became a project, you know, a piece of art on its own, I guess. And it's not the same story, but it was I don't know, it was a great project in the end to just work on with a really great crew that's local here in Seattle. And now we may actually even be, you know, going in the direction of a web series that's a spin-off from this short, because people were actually, they liked the characters in this particular story so much, and like sort of the world that this short film created, that it might actually make sense to go into kind of a short series
instead of the feature, or
instead of the feature. That's our thinking right now, but you know, we still want to do both, so.
absolutely, yeah. Lindsay?
Yes. So what was the question again?
Oh, sure. So like, how did you come up with the concept? I know you were I believe you were the producer and writer, or the director and writer?
Writer director.
Okay. And you know, how was it wearing so many hats? And of course, would you do it again?
Yeah, so this idea came from actually an exercise I was doing in my screenwriting class where we had to write first memories. And it came from something that I wrote about first memories using the word mom, because my mother passed when I was really, really young. And so I was really raised by my stepmother and my father. And then from there, it cultivated into the last time that I said the word mom. And I really had to kind of just like tackle a trauma that I had with my stepmother. The voicemail that, you know, my character hears before she goes into dance class, that was something similar that I dealt with. So it kind of allowed me to be vulnerable as a director and writer. That was the first project that I did where it was a story about something that was extremely personal to me. And being in film school, because that's where I was taking the courses and stuff. And sometimes, you know, you kind of like try to do other things because you don't really want to deal with some of your own personal struggles. And I had this really burning, like I just had this burning sensation to just get that story out. So I just did it. I didn't put any pressure on myself, but I wanted to showcase my Haitian culture, even though it's not like super showcased in the film, but it is something that I think that happens a lot in the Haitian community. So it was nice that I was able to kind of showcase that. And no, it was great wearing both hats. I mean, I think it allowed me as a director to be very vulnerable with my lead. Before I was, you know, a little timid on set and giving redirects because, like, you know, you don't want to make a mistake and all this stuff. So like it allowed me to actually open up as a director, open up with my cast, and be able to just like allow whatever comes to come, and allow each of us, like my main lead, Ariel, she's Haitian as well. And yeah, and so it was really, really nice, and we had really great conversations of just about our childhood, and she had a very different childhood, but she understood, you know. We kind of had a commonality. So it was amazing, and I had an amazing team as well. So it was one of like, I absolutely love Calypso. So Yeah, it's one of my favorites and I'm proud of it.
So I'd like to ask all of you, but I guess I'll stick with you. Like, has your family member been able to watch your film, and what was the feedback from them once they watched it? Like, was your stepmother was like, oh, that's me, I'm that, the person in the film. So I'm curious to know what that was like.
Yeah. So my stepmother hasn't watched it because we currently don't have a relationship, but my cousin is actually in it. It's her voice. And she was there during filming, and she's kind of been the rock in my life for a very long time. And she absolutely loved it. And some of my cousins also watched it, and some of my closest friends, and they all just like, because they understood what I went through, they were they really loved it. And they were very happy that I was able to just allow myself to, or allow myself to be truthful to my story, allow other people to connect with it. And so it was really nice. I enjoyed their feedback. And I actually, in some ways, like, because I think in the Haitian community, because like going to movies it's not as big as like the Western community. It allowed them to see how films could be something that's very personal to people. It allowed them to see film in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And to share your story, and you can take hold of telling your personal story and making sure that people know that, I'm Haitian American, so I know there aren't that many, representation of Haitian American in television. Mm-hmm. So you get the opportunity to see it. It's kind of refreshing because I don't think our stories are necessarily told. And, in a Western civilization, like Haiti's always portrayed in a negative way, and it's always mentioned like, oh, it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and then people tend to like associate Haitians with just being the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But like seeing this, I'm always like, oh, so it's like refreshing to just see Haitian and just being like everyone else. So we have our own traumas and we have our own cultural things, and like so it was nice. I was happy that I was able to do that. So, and I hope to continue to make movies that kind of show our people in different ways than what people have seen. We're not always very strong. We have our issues, but we also have beautiful moments as well. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you so much for sharing. Earl, I don't want to give too much away, but a lot goes on in this short. So I'm wondering, like, what was the feedback like, because it sets up, there's kind of a twist at the end. And then, I'm watching this and I'm like, is she just going to sit here and make food as, like this is happening so I'm just curious, like, what's the feedback like?
Yeah, we've gotten a wide range of feedback. I guess to answer your first question, or if that question was about family, was for me as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of people tell us that it's pretty dark and they didn't expect that from us. And I guess it's funny because to me, at least, we're making a film, right? I guess I hadn't really thought about how audience members would view it. But yeah, I guess when your aunt tells you, hey, that was kind of dark. yeah. I'm like, I guess you're right. I didn't really think about it like that. But yeah, as far as audience feedback, we get a lot of people laughing. Actually, we get a lot of laughter, and my wife calls it campy. So we get a wide range of people being tuned in and dramatic where they need to be, and also kind of releasing some of that tension with laughter they need to as well. So yeah.
Were you surprised, like, I don't know if it was intentional to have like some of those parts be funny, but like, were you surprised when you're watching it with other audience members?
Yes.
And they're laughing at certain parts? Are you like, oh, I didn't see that as being funny, but now that I'm like with a group of people and we're watching it, I can see how. Yeah.
This was my first time directing, so I kind of let the actresses carry it. I mean, as they should anyways. But I learned a ton, and yes, very first time saw it in a packed theater, and when I heard people laughing, I'm like, wait, no, I wanted this to be a drama. But no, you kind of get what you get, and I'm happy with the reactions that we get. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Oh, congrats. Thank you. Vlada, feedback. Like, especially from like your being in that tech world. I'm curious to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been actually eye-opening. I usually think I kind of know what to expect, but this was beyond my expectations. So, the scenarios in this short, everything in the film kind of came from my experience and my husband's experience in the tech industry. And it was, I figured, even though these things actually really did happen, I figured some people might believe it, some people might not believe it. And I thought, we'd get some people saying, yeah, this looks pretty authentic. And some people might be like, yeah, nah, this doesn't really happen anymore. But amazingly, every single woman and most men, I'd say a vast majority of men who watch this, especially, ones who've worked in the tech industry, but also people who've worked in any other kind of corporate environment, any other kind of industry, really, where you're dealing with a bunch of people on a team. It's amazing how much it resonates with each person. And I've had so much feedback where, the women tell me they were like sitting there with their fists clenched and
Like, oh, I've been there.
like, this happened to me and this happened to me. And oh my God, this is my life. We just had a screening in Seattle. It was a Seattle premiere at the Northwest Film Forum. And one woman came over to me afterwards who has been working as a software engineer in the gaming industry. And she could barely speak. She just kept saying, this is so real. So that was, I guess, a good surprise, just how strongly it hit home. And what it tells me is that this is a topic that needs more discussion. This is something that people, whether it's this short film or just anywhere else, people really need to start talking and addressing these issues that women, particularly women of color, Black women, have to deal with when they're kind of trying to make their way in a male-dominated industry. These obstacles are real and they're happening every day still. So it's
I'm glad it was positive, and I'm glad for most men that they were able to see like the authenticity of it, So it's really
I'm hoping they weren't just kind of saying it, just because they felt like they had to, but but most of them were like, oh yeah, yep, that one and that one and that happened, and yeah, I've seen that too. So yeah.
I'd like to pivot a little and just I guess discuss like producing this project. How was it, if you're willing to share, how was it finding funding for this project? And do you have any advice for like up and coming aspiring filmmakers on the process of, getting your film made? Yeah, and anyone could jump in.
I'll jump in first. Producing wise, my background is producing, been doing it for about 10 years, I'd say. And like I said, this is my first time directing, but still it's kind of like carrying both hats helped. Funding wise, a really good friend of mine I went to high school with, his name is Kyle Webb. He is appreciative of my wife and I's work, and he believed in our project, and he was gracious enough to fund it. And so it's something that we had been talking about for a few years, just working together, and it's finally able to come to fruition. So totally blessed to, to have him on our side and have him believe in us. In the past, I have crowdfunded, just kind of scrape whatever you can, been there, done that. And but I'd say just pitching the project, having faith in your own project, having enthusiasm in your own project would help with other people coming aboard, whether it be in a financial aspect or a logistics aspect where they're helping out with physical production or anything else. Outside of the funding, like I said, we had to put it on hold first for COVID, but second time around, everyone was just excited to be back on set, So everyone came, actors, crew, everyone was just happy to be there. Everyone gave 100%. We shot 14 pages in 2 days.
Wow.
And, you know, couldn't have done it without the great team I had. So, yeah, that's all I can say about that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else?
I could say for me, just because I'm not I haven't crowdfunded. I took the route of going to film school to make short films, just because when I was an undergrad and I studied film and I was trying to get into the film industry, it was very difficult being in South Florida. I didn't have connections and it was hard for me to get on set. It was hard, you know, to like find a team that I worked really well with. So I went a different route and I kind of found a film school that I felt will provide me a lot at the end, which was FSU funds your film. They give you all the equipment, they give you your team. So you kind of like, you're able to really just explore as much as you can. And that has helped me just like leaving now and being out here. Now I'm in Atlanta, but like getting into that film industry and like now it gives me more confidence. And I've been working on different smaller projects and now I have teams and people who are like, they're also like-minded like me and they want to make things. So that's been great. So I could talk from that perspective. I think it's amazing that people like jump into this industry with nothing and they do it from scratch and they learn on their way. But I was a little too like, I'm like, oh my God, I like a little structure. I need to know what's happening. So I went a different route, but it has like, I know some people don't really believe that you need to go to film school to learn film, which you don't. But I did learn so much that it has made me extremely confident in creating and being able to being able to follow through with it. So that's the perspective I have.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any kind of new insights here, but it's funding is always, of course, for independent filmmakers, the toughest problem to solve. It always, you know, it always is. And for this particular project, my husband and I funded it ourselves through our little production company, and you know, which we used to kind of work on our previous projects as well. And in the past, you know, we've done kind of the same, you know, the things that Earl has mentioned, applied for grants, you know, you win some, you lose some, you lose mostly, but you do get, you know, we've managed to get a couple here and there, and crowdfunding and friends and family, and, you know, you just do whatever you can to get your project made. It's usually not for profit, you know, most of the time, almost all the time. It's, in our case,
Same here.
So.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I guess the last question would be like, what are your goals for this project? Or if you're working on a new project, let people know what you're working on, and of course, where they can find you on social media and follow you along on your journey. Anyone could jump in if they'd like.
Okay, I'll go. I just finished another short called Dream City, which is about an exotic dancer who is trying to open up her own hair salon. And right now I am working on a feature from Dream City and also a pilot. And if you want to find me, I'm on Instagram. My name is LENSAJ90. And then on Facebook, it's just Lensa Judy. So those are the two ways you can get in contact with me.
Thank you.
So I already mentioned that we're currently working on expanding it into possibly a web series. So that's kind of what I'll focus on for a little while. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram as Vlada Knowlton, VLADAKNOWLTON, all one word. So you can find me there.
Thank you.
Yes, for Nate, I'd love some sort of expansion, you know, kind of exploring all of our options right now, but whether that's a mini series or a feature. So putting my efforts into expanding that right now. As they say, going fishing, right? So definitely wanting to make that happen. In terms of new projects, I have my next short coming up, looking to shoot in December. It's called Preacher's Kids, and it's about these twin siblings, preachers, son of preachers, who on their birthday party, when they're both supposed to be celebrating their birthday on the same day, they have some of their secrets mistakenly revealed to one another.
Mm.
And so just dealing with that whole situation. Future me, I would love to continue directing and producing. I found a new passion for directing where I used to strictly be a producer. And you could find me on Instagram at Bolden Pictures, all one word, but plural.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today. I really did enjoy watching all of your films, and I hope everyone gets the chance to, log on. The films will be available until October 2nd. If you haven't done so, please watch these amazing films. But I want to thank you guys for joining us. You guys have been great, and hope to see you guys soon. Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.